Hi, welcome to X3, One Topic, Three Pundits. I'm your host, John C. Dvorak. I'm here with Andrew Eisner and Joe Engo. We're going to talk a little bit about this security breach, the Epsilon security breach. Who knows anything? You know about this, right? What happened?
Yeah, so basically there's an email provider called Epsilon that they provide mass marketing emails to Best Buy and Chase and a bunch of other, like 2,500 different customers. Somebody got in, breached security in there, and obtained the entire database, which consists of email addresses and first names. Now, a lot of people don't think that that's that big of a deal, but that's going to definitely increase a lot of phishing scams.
In fact, they call it spear phishing, and the reason they call it spear phishing is because it's highly targeted phishing. So with the names from, let's say, all the Citibank customers, you can get an email that sort of looks, hey, I'm on the mailing list for Citibank. It's perfectly normal for me to get
an email. The old-fashioned way, though, was just to send out the Citibank thing to everybody. Yeah. And you hope that the dummies that actually have a Citibank account, you know who you are, would see it and they would just react. The other people would go, I don't even have a Citibank account. Yep. They would just ignore it.
Yep. But now it's even worse because it even includes your first name in there, which most people don't think that's that big of a deal, but a lot of people who just don't know shit about computers, unfortunately, they're going to fall victim of a lot of scams.
But this is only part of the story.
Let's start. Well, let me just say something here. Mm-hmm. I've noticed this. Have you ever gone to the FBI website?
No, I never have.
Go in there. They just tell you to fill out my wife does this constantly. She's always seeing some scam, so she writes in and they never respond. Sure. They never do anything about it. How do these, have you ever had any results? Why are these people?
Of course not.
It's obvious that you could track these guys down. They're not doing anything about it.
But you know who is doing something?
There's so many of these attacks that happen on a daily basis. Most of the times they're in Russia and other countries that there's nothing you can do about it.
You know who's doing something on this? The Microsoft Digital Crime Lab. And recently they were in the news because they worked with the government, but mainly it was their work. They took down this huge botnet called Roosstock, which was responsible for sending billions of spam messages a day. And what they did was they went into major cities around the country and took their servers. They call them command and control centers, where what they call the bot masters or the bot herders work. I mean, you know how this works, right? You load some malicious code on your computer. It sits there for dormant. These things are so devious and so insidious.
Yeah, it pings a site somewhere, and then the site once in a while says, "Hey, buddy, wake up," and then it tells you to go do something. Why is Microsoft doing law enforcement?
Because of the government, because the FBI is it, apparently.
Because the way that these botnets work is they're using exploits in Microsoft's code that actually inject the code onto the systems, and then these systems are not being patched quick enough or not being patched at all. So Microsoft is forcing patches onto some of these machines to make sure that they'll run up the dates and close up the holes.
In some cases, they're just people are saying, hey, click here, and you click here, and you actually are voluntarily loading something on your computer.
Oh, yeah, no, this happens constantly.
Yeah.
Do you know that there was a study done on people that are obsessive compulsive?
No.
And they apparently, if it says click here, they will, no matter what. Even if they're told, if you click there, you're going to get a virus. Don't click there.
And they'll do it.
They still do it.
Yeah.
It's frightening, but that's why spam is such a big deal, is because people fall for it. And same thing with phishing scams. They're never going to go away, and they're going to keep getting worse.
And it's not only spam. I mean, this thing, the computing scene is rife with all this malware. I mean, I'm reading about Trojans, Android Trojans that infect your phone and then send out SMS messages unbeknownst to you. So you could be having this thing sitting on you, sending out these
We talked about
SMS
a game at one
messages.
point that was doing that. There was a game that you would download, and you didn't realize that in the background it was just sending all these SMS messages
to your address book?
Exactly. Or it was making phone calls to, like a 900 number equivalent in another country. So you were getting charged $10.
That's an old scam.
And they were making away with $8.
That reminds me of the old scam back in the day when they had modems. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there used to be this scam where it was supposedly some service, free porn or something, and people would dial it up, and then it would disconnect. First thing it would do is the code would turn off the modem speaker. And then it would hang up and dial somebody in Romania at some $900 a minute thing. And you'd get this bill for $30,000, which was obviously a scam. It was corruption. It was a crime.
Yeah.
And you take it to AT&T, and they'd say, nah, there's nothing we can do about it. You have to pay the bill because we have international treaties. And this is like they're in collusion. Yeah. This is the kind of international corruption we're talking about. Nobody can do anything about it. Microsoft has to go out there and do law enforcement. Now, what the hell's going going on?
Well, you know, this is a big threat, and I'm glad actually Microsoft is doing this, because these botnets are actually creating all kinds of havoc, and the malware is just running rampant. I mean, you know, there are Facebook apps, there are these, and you're going to see a whole bunch of smartphone Android malware.
It's only going to continue getting more and more.
And it's these stupid shortened URLs that are apparently, you know, responsible for a lot of the social network malware, they're saying, which I'm not that crazy about this shortened.
I like the shortened neck because they get the long. Some of them are like a mile long.
You can't tell what you're clicking on, you know. I mean,
but you don't know that this is anything either. I mean, but this thing's a mile long. You can't email it to somebody because it goes like 5 lines, and then the last little bit won't show up as part of the link.
Yeah.
So you click on it, and it goes to the wrong link because it doesn't have the end. It doesn't have the end of it. And then your Comcast or one of your local providers, instead of just leaving it up there so you can patch it, it throws you to some other page saying, "Oh, that's not it. Maybe you're looking for this," and it has a list of other crap. It's impossible to you have to use the shortened thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them. I mean, personally, I mean, I know that they're going to break the internet, so to speak, eventually, because if Bitly, for example, goes down, then you have millions and billions of URLs out there that are just going to cease to, you know, work.
Well, I only use them for temporary purposes. I don't like put them in a blog or anything.
No, but they're sitting out there.
But they're
like, for example,
on Twitter. But Twitter expires.
But I've actually seen advertisements out in the wild that have a Bitly URL in it, and then what happens if Bitly goes down? Now suddenly that URL is gone. And that was one of the big concerns with the whole Libya crisis, is that if Libya decides to take back Bitly, well, you know, all these URLs
that's right.
suddenly
Libya
break.
is LY.
Exactly.
That's what they should do. To threaten. We're removing the LY from you guys. You're screwed. Huh. All right.
I mean, URL shorteners are really good for security at the same time. Twitter actually did a really awesome thing with it. So now all URLs that you put onto Twitter, even though it's a Bitly shortened URL, they automatically get rerouted to a Twitter shortened URL. So they could take whatever that origin URL is, and then they could just ban it across all, you know, everybody's account. So anytime you try to click on one of those links, now it just goes into a dead space instead of going to some phishing scam or something that could, you know, infect you.
Sounds complicated to me, but
sounds like a plus to me. You're watching X3.